Credit scores, okay? It's more than freecreditreport.com. There's a reason for it when you're buying notes. And the principal reason for it is because it has to do with, am I going to have a chance of getting this rehabilitated? Now, credit changes. It's never the same.
Correct.
And when you see a credit on the tape, that usually is almost always reported at the time when the loan was originated, when it was born. Okay. Now, this is interesting, and I've seen this happen, where banks would sell loans and they would try to tell us that the credit was the same. Now, somebody who got a cash-out refinance used the proceeds to go out and buy a Lexus. Why not, right? Wasn't their money? America, great country. What do you think happened to their credit as a result of buying another automobile on installment debt?
Well, it got dinged.
Correct.
So, go down.
So is the value of the loan worth as much as it was at origination?
No.
No, because the credit has come down, correct? Okay. Credit is, and I can go off, this could be another continuing ed, but credit's nothing more than a way of companies guilting you into paying your bills. There's a lot of interesting things that go on behind how these are done. In our hard money course, we spend a lot of time going over the credit report, one of our borrowers.
I do.
Which is pretty
Actually, it's pretty interesting even to just Google how credit history was formed and why it was formed. I enjoyed reading about that too.
You should Google that. If you have a link, why don't you throw it on?
Okay.
Awkward. Okay. Okay. All right. So credit always changes. Okay. Just because it was 760 in January of 2005 doesn't mean today it's still 760, right? Generally speaking, the populace, the average has come down, I think I read somewhere 20 points, okay? Hint, what you want to ask, and this is a cocktail term, when was credit last pulled? You want to know when was credit last pulled. Now these credit reports cost us $10 a piece to run, and we can run them very, very quickly.
Sure.
And they're usually very comprehensive. It's not like the myficos.com or whatever where you pay $40 and they upsell you and upsell you and upsell you, okay? Forget about that stuff. You can get a mortgage broker or someone in the industry to do it for you for $10. It's not really, and it's called a soft pull. It's not a hard pull too as well, which means it doesn't affect your credit as much depending on the services you use. The reason why we pay attention to it, because if somebody's credit has gone from 760 to 580, their chances of loyalty to their obligations is probably going to be slim to none as compared to if their credit was still kind of high, correct? So, yeah, this is something that we look at, of course, when we're looking to rehabilitate assets. When we're pricing these, this is what goes into consideration.
Yeah, and I remember pulling, when I was just telling you earlier about my own personal deal, we lived in our primary residence, and in 1 month I bought 2 homes the same month.
2 homes, look at you.
Yeah, because I knew they were going to pull my credit.
Rockefeller
So I could use the excuse, oh, well, I'm just looking around, and they needed... So I said that these other 2 homes were then my new primary residence, and that
2 homes for a primary residence.
Correct, and then my
Vegas?
existing primary residence was then going to be my rental property. So I was able to then save, some points in fees, and obviously the interest rate was different because I knew if I could get it all done the same month that I'd be able to get a better interest rate. So it sounded great in theory, even though I think that's technically illegal to do that.
It is. There's a lot of people that did a lot of stupid things like that. And that was stupid. Unless you have like 2 wives, or I don't even know what would constitute that. But it's called credit migration, and there's a lot of people that did that. And there were blog posts, and chances are the banks have too much problems right now to worry about coming after anyone for doing that. But it's not a kosher thing to do.
No, it's not.
But you found us, so that's good. You found the way. You've chosen the right. Okay.
I see the light.
I see the light. Let's move on. Corey, first adjust date.
First adjust date?
Yes.
Okay.
This is when the loan resets. We used to have bets in the office. With one of the funds that I used to have is, okay, we buy a pool of loans, it was a small pool, and they were all set to reset in the next 6 months, and we would figure out if, Joe's six-pack was able to make it or not as far as the interest rate, because the margin on it was like 8 points. So we're like, is he going to make it? Is he not? We're going to see, and we do an over-under and go, oh, you defaulted, The best part about doing this is understanding how this works is because it tells you how to rehabilitate the loan. As far as deal structuring strategies, which we get into in the next module, there's a reason why we're going through all this painful stuff, because it's going to help you to create wealth through doing easy fixes. Some fixes are easy, some fixes are hard. So let's talk about this over here. If we're looking at a loan, and let's say, for example, it's been in default for 6 months, perhaps it was the reset that caused that to happen. So what you want to do is you want to see how soon after the reset did the borrower default.
So you're talking about an adjustable rate mortgage?
Correct. Adjustable rate mortgages only, correct? If P, meaning performing, will future reset stress the borrower? Okay, is this guy going to be able to make the payments? Remember, generally speaking, wages in America are not going anywhere. And when you also put into fact inflation, they're going in reverse. So a lot of these adjustable rate mortgages that are still coming due, even in commercial real estate, are going to stress the borrower. Okay, the best part is, it's one of the easiest things to fix. Yeah. Hello, Joe, Mr. Six-Pack. How are you today? Good. I understand that you're running behind. What's the problem? Okay. Here's what I'm willing to do. Do you think you'd be able to make the payments if I was to reset your loan back to its original interest rate? What if I was to give you a lower interest rate than what you were currently paying? Do you think you could be able to maintain the payments? Oh, yes, that'd be great. Oh, wonderful. I'd be able to get a new car and everything like that. So you're helping others, and that's how you create wealth. Okay?
Now, isn't that what some of the banks have done in these loan modifications?
Well, technically, yes. Pragmatically, no.
Because it doesn't seem like with most of these loan modifications that they've worked. I mean, the default rate on those
haven't, and the reason is because they did it in a way that they had almost no regard to the borrower. Okay? And remember what I was saying, mortgages have a human element to it. And if you treat people with dignity and you have that little hand-holding, it's fine. If you tell people they have to come out of pocket $10,000 in order to get a rate reset, that's going to be a problem right there. Okay?
Right.
Now, some loans are better than others, and some borrowers are better than others. So you're going to know this, but you're going to know this by looking at the tapes. If you look at these tapes and you start looking at things here where you start analyzing them like we do, then you're going to have a higher success rate. If you start doing it wholesale across the board with people who are behind 2 years and expect them to fulfill their obligations, no, they're going to fail.
Sure, because I would know that a lower payment certainly helps, but long term, it seems what they're looking for is to lower the entire mortgage, the entire
Correct.
debt.
Yeah.
So if there's a way for that to be able to happen,
if you
then
help
we're
someone,
inclined to do that.
yeah, if you help someone keep their home, improve their living, and look good in front of their neighbors, they will always help you. What if I told you I would also report good credit?
That's a good thing.
A lot of banks don't report good credit. I have the power to report good credit. Okay?
I just want you to sing that for your credit report song.
No, I'm not going to sing that song. I hate those jingles. But you see what I mean? So that guy's going to be happy. I saved him probably $250 a month. He can go out and get a new pickup truck. Okay? He's happy. He thinks that Ed McMahon showed up at his front door.
I can see the sticker now. Sal is your pal.
Sal is your pal. Written like Ferris Bueller, right? Save Ferris on the water tower somewhere in Midland, Texas. Okay. All right, so let's move on. Next adjustment rate. Again, we talked about adjustment rate already in the last segment here, but we got to talk about it. When you're looking at buying a loan, performing or non-performing, there's a level of stress that comes with each adjustment. Okay? Now, this is easy to fix, but it's also using gamesmanship to buy the loan at a steeper discount. Okay? Now, any loan that I buy today that's performing, I'm going to keep it performing. And you know what? Because I'm buying it at such a steep discount, I don't care about rate increases, okay? Because it's the performance of the loan that matters to me, and the price I paid for it, not necessarily what I'm going to get as far as increasing it. Because if you start to stress the borrower, now you incur expenses with foreclosure and everything. So, we use this as gamesmanship, and I look at it and say, well, we're going to have to, discount the note even more because, you have a reset coming up in the next 3 months, and I'm not sure that this guy can make it based off of the information that I've seen so far.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Let's move on. Corey, we're talking about interest rates. We're talking about the current interest rate versus the interest rate of origination. Okay?
Okay.
There was a time when everybody had a negative amortization loan. Any mortgage brokers out there have dealt with World Savings Bank, you know that they would give anyone a heart rate who could fog a mirror, who's been rejected by Starbucks for a credit card or for a Starbucks card, a 1% loan. So teaser rates, you have 1% teaser rate. That's great, you know. Then all of a sudden you hear people, oh, I thought I was going to be able to keep my interest rate at this all the time. I didn't know what I was signing. I was defrauded, everything, blah, blah, blah. You know, I've signed obligations I didn't want to have to fulfill, but I've had to do it. You know, don't get caught up in that stuff. So the teaser rates, you have to understand, is that could lead to sticker shock, and that leads to borrower stress. Remember, you want a performing loan. We want a performing loan. We look at this to tell exactly, number one, how steep that reset's going to be, and number two, we also want to know because it'll tell us what kind of product it is. All right?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I remember there was like year one was 1%, then year two, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% for the first 4 or 5 years.
And then after 5 years, ammo kicks in.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's
you
like,
were paying $400 a month, now all of a sudden you're paying $1,900 a month. Okay? So much for your little rental empire, right?
Right, and then say, oh, don't worry about it, you'll reset it by then.
It'll reset. We'll refinance you out of that because equity is always going to be there, and there will always be a mortgage market, right? And housing just keeps going up. Trees grow to the sky.
They're not making any more
They're not making any more land, especially desert land in Nevada, okay? So there you are with looking at the interest rate. The last important data type. Are you happy? We've come all this way.
You know, is it the last? I mean,
it is the last. Do you see anything else there? I've printed out the same thing that our students have. So.
Oh.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I want more.
No, no more. Next we get into deal structuring. That's the fun stuff.
That's fun, yes.
You gotta walk before you run. All right. So we're talking about purchase description, loan purpose. If you make a loan to someone, don't you want to know what they're going to use the proceeds for?
Yes.
Okay.
I see that a lot in commercial.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a whole different ball of wax, but I can imagine some of the things you see. If you're not a commercial student of ours, number one, ask yourself why, and number two, get signed up. Right? Yes. Okay, get signed up.
No, I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Is there a link? Well, we talk about types of loan products. We want to know what the purposes were for. And a lot of times there were a lot of people that had cash out, right? People, when I ran that marathon in 2005, everybody who I talked to was either a real estate investor or a mortgage broker or a realtor. And the problem was that they didn't have to do anything but just sit there in their homes in Southern California. It would appreciate by $500,000 a year. Why get a job? Just borrow, right?
Sure. I mean, my friend in the mortgage business, he says, Corey, we were in the height of the market. We were giving out checks, and they were at least $100,000 for every check that they were giving out.
That's easy living, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to know, because somebody who doesn't have a cash-out loan probably is going to hold true to their obligations a little more if it was meant for a purchase, for example. Okay?
Well, how do you know that maybe they did the cash to buy another house?
If they pull cash out, there's reason to be suspect there.
Okay.
Okay? There's reason to be suspect there. Generally speaking, there's a risk associated with that.
Fair enough.
And that's what we want our students to understand. Okay? As far as gamesmanship, when we talk about bidding, it's an opportunity to you know, eat into the bidding and really drive down the bids.
Do they come to buy another house, or they come to Vegas and just bet it all on black?
You'd be surprised.
Right.
Okay? You'd be surprised. I mean, you see people, I mean, you see them take, like, literally at the closing table, $230,000, okay? Now, this also has to do with something else, and that was called mortgage fraud. There were a lot of people out there who were called credit angels, and they would buy a house, you know, at a discount. And let's just say you were the investor, okay? So you were Ivan the investor, and I am Charlie the credit angel, okay?
Okay.
And you found someone that needs to get out of their house, they're in foreclosure. This is in 2005. And it's a great opportunity. And what you're going to do is you want to find someone. Somebody actually gave a seminar on this. His name was, I can't remember his last name, but it was, gosh, they found him missing. They found his truck and he was missing in Texas somewhere. But anyway, there were a lot of
We
people.
probably don't want to give out the name anyway.
No, we don't want to give out the name anyway. So this is just part of like the zoo that was going on during the credit boom. And what he did is that he would sandbag the banks. He'd bring in Charlie the credit angel and come in and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this great house and I'm going to get it with a negative amortization loan and it's going to cash flow and it's going to be rented and everything else like that. Meanwhile, you'd come in, sandbag the banks, take the money and run. See
So
what
I used your credit?
Correct.
Okay.
To do a cash out.
Okay.
See what I mean?
And then I'd give you X amount of percentage.
Yeah, you give me a little bit of percentage, say, hey, if you do this, this is my fee, you know, and it's like whatever you can pull out. And of course, you know, Ivan, the investor, would of course pay the, you know, Andy, the appraisal under the table to make sure that it was as cranked as high as possible, okay, so that you'd be able to pull more money out and then you just disappear.
And then that's where the whole early payment defaults would probably happen as well.
Exactly. Now it's all coming together.
It all comes together.
See, there's a reason why we went over this exercise is because I want to make sure you know exactly beyond the shadow of a doubt what you're bidding on, what you're going to purchase, what you're going to show us, and more importantly, what you're going to show other people who are not going to be as nice as Corey, Peter, James, and I. Okay? This concludes analyzing a tape. Congratulations. Let's move on to some meaty stuff now, okay?
All right.
All right.